Coach, let's just go ahead and start. How have preparations gone for Oregon State? How are you feeling going into the game?
Yeah, I feel great going into it. The first game's always a little bit nicer because you're not really confined by time as much. You get 2 weeks to prepare, really from the end of fall camp and the start of school to get going to play. It doesn't make it any easier. Obviously, I have a ton of respect for Oregon State and what they've done. And Coach Bray, it's his first year there, but not his first year as a Beaver. Obviously, having played there and been a great defensive coordinator for them the last several years, no surprise that he got the head job. And they present a lot of problems for you in a lot of phases. And it'll be exciting for our guys to go out and play somebody else. I think everybody at this point of the year is just excited to hit somebody that doesn't have the same logo as them.
Coach, as you look at Oregon State, as you said, a new coach, a lot of new faces. How do you game plan for that with having a new coach and having all of these new players?
I think more than anything, you probably try and have a game plan that focuses less on what we know they're going to do and stuff that has answers for multiple looks. Obviously, Coach Bray has been there as a Beaver for many times, but maybe there are some things that he wanted to do that he hasn't been able to do as just the defensive coordinator. Has had a ton of success there. I know Coach Hayward's come in. He's also a former Beaver as well. No stranger to Corvallis, and he's done some good stuff. So we watched a little bit of UNLV tape, a little bit of Oregon State tape, both from last year and then the past couple of years when they played similar type teams to us. So we made sure that everything going in, there's nothing where you're going to tell our guys, hey, there's 100% certainty that they're going to line up like this. We just say, all right, if they do X, Y, Z, here's our answer for X, here's our answer for Y, here's our answer for Z. And obviously, I think anytime you play a team that's a little bit higher up, you want to make sure that your guys' performance anxiety curve is, less strained by nuance and more just off of repetition of things that they're comfortable with.
Cody, you talked about Coach being a newcomer at Oregon State as far as the head coach is concerned. Have you been able to pick up any tendencies or anything from him? Because in his press conference Monday, he was talking about they're going to emphasize the run. He says it's got to be a key part of the offense this year.
Yeah, and I think, looking at what their offensive coordinator has done previously when he was at San Jose State, UCLA, and now at Oregon State, every defensive coach kind of wants to emphasize the run. I think Bronco Mendenhall is probably the one guy that has kind of broke the mold as being a defensive head coach that likes guys to spread it out. But, the Beavers have really done a great job of that the last couple of years, and they've run it against some of the best teams in America. And you even look at their quarterbacks that they've gotten. I mean, obviously, Gulbranson, their captain quarterback who's been there, he was a great play-action guy, started games for him in 22. Giovanni McCoy, you got named the starter. I think they're dealing with some injuries and stuff there, but obviously had a ton of success with the play action when he was with the Vandals. And I think that's probably what they're going to go off of. Their backs are, Jam and Hankerson. Those are two of the better running backs in the country. I mean, if you look at what they've done at their previous stops. So they're in a good spot to run the football, and it'll be good for us because we got to emphasize stopping the run. I think anybody who wants to pride yourself on defense, you can't give up the easy yards, and it's a lot easier to hand it to somebody and move the ball than it is to, put it in the air. But we got to go out. We got to stop the run. We know that. We got to force turnovers if we want to be competitive in this game. We know that. But it'll be exciting to see the new era of Oregon State football as we kind of move into phase 2 and try to start the next era of what we're doing. There will be a lot of exciting things for both fan bases in the game.
Who's your starting quarterback?
JC will probably start the game, and then Sharm and Kobe will play. I just think Cookie's been the most consistent throughout camp. The other guys have made some awesome plays, but I told them, what happens in week 1 versus week 3 has no bearing on that. I mean, they're going every game. I mean, we charted a lot of stuff. Obviously, we told Kobe Tracy when he was coming in, hey, if you want to be the guy, you got to sort of like cut the head off the snake. And I thought Kobe played really well, outplayed all the quarterbacks in several areas, but I think it's close. And in some of those game time places, it just probably edged Jordan just a little bit. And then Jackson Sharman has probably been a little bit more maybe inconsistent, but man, he's showed some real flashes. So all the guys are going to play, and we're not going to decide the majority starting quarterback until we get probably to week 3 or 4.
Are you going to script who plays when, or is it going to be situationally determined?
I'd say we have an idea in our head that we've talked to those guys about. I don't want to tell you and deviate from the script because I know it will change. I mean, if you go down and score 14 straight points, it's hard to take a guy out. If you go hang 21 in the first quarter, you're not just going to take a guy out. Or if you have a guy that throws a pick on the first drive, you can't just say, all right, you're out. That's not fair to anybody. So there's a plan that we'll talk to them about, but all 3 will play. Because like I said, we have 4 guys who could start in this conference on our football team, and I'm excited about that. That's a luxury that most teams don't have. But as you kind of look at things, you know, as much as you try to simulate a game and you try and tell the quarterbacks that they're going to be live, you want to see it happen. And I think if you told me Jackson Sharman was going to be our quarterback for 12 weeks, I'd be juiced. I'd be fired up about it because that guy's an elite player and an elite person. Kobe Tracy has thrown a lot of passes and knows this offense really, really well. Smart guy. And JC's just kind of been a combination of, I think, consistency with his knowledge of the offense and being able to make plays that probably earns him the nod, but it's not a – I told JC, it's not a lack of belief in any of those guys. I just want to give them all the opportunity to earn it on a real stage.
So Oregon State coach in his press conference said he's probably going to play all 3 of his quarterbacks. It sounds like both of you guys are kind of going into this as kind of an exhibition kind of a situation.
Yeah, and I think, hopefully not Harlem Globetrotters exhibition where it's just a joke. But, one thing about college football that's just such a bummer is you don't get preseason games to try stuff out and give guys live action. And making decisions off of what kids have done at the age of 18 in a controlled environment is very different than when there's 50,000 people in the stands. And we know the Beavers fans are going to be loud and ruckus. They're a very pride fan base. And, playing in Corvallis will show us a little bit more about who's going to get after it because there's some places in the Big Sky that can be pretty hostile too. So we want to let those guys play. And very similar, I'd say probably these next 2 games at all positions are going to see a lot of guys play. So that 2 deep is pretty accurate, but it's also not deception. These are the guys that we're going to roll a ball out there and we're going to play because I think we're deep enough where if you told us only our 2s were going to play, we should be just as competitive as when the 1s are in there. There's not a drop-off in talent. And I've told guys, I don't know, there's not a bunch of, if you look at our guys, I don't know if we have a bunch of NFL guys on this team, but we have a bunch of guys that are capable of being all Big Sky players and a bunch of guys that are capable of starting games for us without us skipping a beat.
So I don't see Shulikov, I don't see Nunnally, I don't see Weimer on the 2 deep, but I'm assuming they're going to play.
Yeah, they'll play, and right now they know where they're at. I just think from the amount of reps that they've gotten, they'll be in there, and that's where if they were a 3 deep, they'd be on there. But we've talked to those receivers about just kind of an ABC rotation. They'll probably be on more of a script than the quarterbacks just because emotionally, for those guys, it's better in managing legs. Emotionally with quarterbacks, you have to manage those a little bit differently. But our guys know it'll probably be like some guys will be on a 2 drive and out count. Some guys will be on a 1 drive and out count just to get those guys in and let them rotate. Want to see what they do when they're getting man coverage from Pac-12 DBs and want to see them run after the catch and take care of the football in real scenarios.
Cody, how are you feeling about the depth of the O-line and how did that battle shake out?
Yeah, I feel really good about our offensive line. I told you there's probably no position group that I'm more proud of on our team. I think just the jump that those guys have made, working with Coach Pittman in the offseason, Coach Hughes really spending the lonely hours with those guys, and whether it's recruiting, development, culture, leadership from those guys, man, it made a big jump. And we're not where we want to be, but man, I think we're probably where we should be going into the season, and I'm excited about the growth that we'll continue to see over the next couple of weeks because we will go as they go. We know that we got to protect the football. That starts with protecting the quarterback and being able to run the football to put us in better situations, and I think they're going to do that for us this year.
How about your defense? That's obviously an area that you've got to have improvement this year. How do you feel about the depth, and how do you feel about the performance that you've seen in camps?
Yeah, I think you look at our defense. There are so many seniors in that group, and unfortunately, that when you play 6 years of college football, like many of these guys are right now, you got a lot of nicks and bruises that you got to manage. So for us, it'll be interesting, just because I think if you roll our first 11 out there, they're probably better than. I'd take them over anybody. I think that we'll continue to do a great job. We got to do a good job of keeping them healthy and managing kind of their pitch counts and playing them situationally, because we have some talented youth, but it is youth. And just like maybe in some position battles, we maybe leaned towards experience a little bit. Our starters have experience and our young guys don't, but man, they're talented. So I think we'll continue to do a better job on defense. We got to manage the injuries a little bit. I trust Coach Runda as much as I've ever trusted another coach. He works his butt off. He's a phenomenal teacher, and we'll have answers, and we'll continue to adjust those answers kind of with our expanded package as we move through year 2.
Cody, I had to, when I was doing research for the game Saturday, I had to double check these stats. In fact, Brad and I were talking about it. Giovanni McCoy has never taken a snap against Idaho State.
I know,
Which is
yeah.
hard to believe because he was at Idaho for 3 years. but you've seen enough of tape of him. He's the nominal starter Saturday. What makes him such a dangerous player?
I think just the fact that he's been effective off play action. He's extremely accurate. You look at his completion percentage at Idaho, whether it was in the quick game or taking shots. I mean, yeah, he had some good receivers, but there's a reason he was the guy. And the guys that he beat out were still at Idaho when Eck got there. I mean, he played darn good football and made a difference for them. So I think probably that if you look at the schematic fit, and he's not a guy that is new. You know, usually if you're going to play a brand new kid who hasn't played in a while, that you feel better, hey, maybe you can rattle him, maybe you can give him some different looks. But again, even though he hasn't played snaps against Idaho State, I mean, he's played a lot of college football, and he's played against defenses that do stuff similar to what we do in the conference, and he'll have tape on what Idaho did, and those are schemes that he's familiar with, and even though he wasn't throwing the passes, he knows, hey, when we do this play-action pass and have this route concept on, I've taken that rep before, and I have confidence that that will be there against the Bengals. So we got to do a good job of mixing up looks and having different fits, and he's a phenomenal quarterback with an even better surrounding cast than he's used to playing with, so he's going to be even more dangerous.
What have you seen from Cook this fall as compared to last year? Where has he grown? Where has he gotten better?
Yeah, I think the single greatest improvement that JC has taken is his approach to preparation. I told everybody that you kind of score guys in a lot of different things. You know, you want to look at, hey, you know, how do you play in games and live situations? How do you do in practice? How do you prepare off the field? How do you work in the weight room? How do you do as a leader? And I think JC came in and watched more film than anybody in the summer. I mean, he was living in there, bugging Colney all the time. And I think Coach Castle's a huge credit to the development of all those quarterbacks. He's fantastic. But he came in and watched a ton of film, and I thought he did a good job putting on some weight and working hard in the weight room. But you know, I kind of say Hunter Hayes, nobody's going to outwork that guy in the weight room and on the field. He's a tough dude who's going to play, and I'm excited to kind of see his package as we continue to go in there. He'll always be a part of what we do. But I think just the preparation probably has been different, and there's a little bit more confidence in his answers. You just want to continue to see that confidence and that belief in his own competitive abilities showcase itself on game day.